So welcome to improving budget tracking and empowering decision-making with custom apps. I had to read that because I couldn't remember what we called this or what we were presenting on, but it's okay. So I like to start off every presentation I do by getting the jitters out, and the best way I do that is by, as a millennial, taking a selfie. So if you guys will help me out, get excited, get wild, we need you in the picture. If there's no picture, it didn't happen. Get excited! All right, thank you. Thanks for bearing with me. I need that for our firm intranet. So I'm Richard Salinas. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Kaufman Rossin. I am also the lead of our business intelligence service to our clients, leading transformation and innovation at Kaufman Rossin, which I'll tell you a little bit more about.
And I am Lilia Restrepo. I am the lead of the business intelligence department, and I lead all the Domo operations.
Awesome. So we work at Kaufman Rossin. We are based in South Florida, in Miami. We do have locations around the world. We are over 700 employees. We've been around for about 63 years. We've doubled in size in the last few years. We offer services like your traditional accounting, auditing, tax, but we also do a lot of really cool things like cybersecurity, physical security. We have ex-FBI agents, Homeland Security, Secret Service. We do transformation, internal transformation for organizations, AI consulting, and things of the like. Our biggest strength is our people. That's what we sell. We sell ours. And we emphasize on a culture around joy. Joy at work. Joy is our bottom line. We believe that if our employees are happy, they will be happy to come to work with their peers, to work with our clients, leading to better results, more positive interactions and relationships, and growth and success for everybody. And so I mentioned we have a little over 700 employees. How does this translate over to Domo? We have 716 active daily users in Domo. We've been on the platform for about 4 years. We are in the consumption model pricing. We were actually on legacy before, which meant that we were paying per user, per connection, and then some data rows. We have shifted over to consumption, which has been a game changer for us because it has unlocked the opportunity to use things like workflows, write-backs, data science, and the like. We also have 4 instances. Not only do we have our own instance, but we manage client instances. We are a full stack managed service application. So we have clients that run on our Domo to kind of use our scalability of cost and do it at a more affordable rate. But we also manage Domo for others who already have the platform. Everything from our data scientists, our IT house, our dev shop is full service. So if anybody needs help on your instance, feel free to reach out to us. Shameless plug. So let's get to why we are here. The objective that we were tasked with. We need a better way to manage our budgets. It's all over the place, it's too manual, and as intensive as it is, I still can't get the detail that I need. Does anyone have a situation similar to that? Maybe it's not your budgets, but it's something else. You're all lying. You all have those situations. So why change? We had scaling challenges. About 4 years ago, we were only 300 employees, about 70 million in revenue. We're now sitting at over 700, 160 million in revenue in a short 3 years, completely natural growth, organic, no acquisitions, mergers, PE money. We had a process that was incredibly manually intensive. And like I mentioned in the slide before, is regardless of how manual it was, it still wasn't granular enough to get the insights and the data that we really needed. This led to inefficient collaboration between internal accounting, between the executive suite, board, department leaders, service line leaders, sub-department leaders, and the list continues and continues. And there was limited visibility, right? From a budgeting perspective, of course, we're an accounting firm, we have financials, P&L, balance sheets. We can drill down for our different entities that we had, but we couldn't get down to the granular detail that we wanted, like per office, by level, by region, by sub-department, and the like. So I mentioned rapid growth, silent budgeting issues across. We also had disconnected systems. I'm sure many of you guys have data that's living across multiple systems, third-party applications. You're downloading it, you're putting it in a spreadsheet, you're moving it into another system, but it's never enough, it's never the clear picture. Again, a lot of manually intensive processes go in that, downloading data, not just today or weekly, but monthly and quarterly and annually across multiple functions and purposes. And of course, we had the two biggest challenges, the first of that being the spreadsheet devil. I don't know if you guys have ever met him. A spectral entity lurking in the depths of endless spreadsheets. He corrupts data with ghostly glitches and turns formulas into unsolvable riddles. Shadowed sum, a calculation that always returns doom. Thank you, ChatGPT, because that, and Meta.AI, right? And the second problem, and you guys let me know if you have this, is the legacy gatekeeper. Haunting companies with old systems, manual work, and it's always been that way employees. I wrote that one, not ChatGPT. You can see not as eloquent, but it does get to the point, right? So the solution, Domo, that's why we're here. We created a custom app leveraging the in-house expertise that we had, as well as the very clear objective and mission statement that we were given. So in doing that, and I want to start here first, you really have to kind of take an inventory of your data, right? You have to understand what is it that we're going after for, right? And so in talking with my CFO, he said, Richard, I need our department leaders to be able to budget and forecast across multiple levels. We need to know what is our headcount increase or decrease going to look like, and not just what it's going to look like, but at what levels, in what offices, in what departments, in what sub-departments, and with what industry specialties, right? We have to know what our, and that's payroll data, right? You know, what is our payroll cost going to look like from that aspect? We need to be able to better track our expenses. Now we had Expensify. We were automatically tracking expenses. You think we're using the latest tool to grab it, but lacked integrations, lacked certain features that it didn't allow us to drill down to that level. And we needed revenue projections, right, to properly budget. We know what we did last year. We know what we're doing right now. What do we think we're going to do in the down season, in the up season? Not just at a firm perspective, we're going to grow 10%, but by department, by region, by office, right? So before being able to really get started, you got to know what is it that your end goal is going to be, what data is required, and in what format before you can even start building out your roadmap. So we enhanced data sources as our first step. So we were on ADP and we moved to Paycom. ADP is a global player, but ADP is not friendly with their APIs. Their model has been acquiring companies for the last 40 years and not really elevating their technology. So it's really dispersed systems. The reporting wasn't granular enough for us. It wasn't user-friendly to make changes. And there wasn't a great governance process around it. So we made a switch for payroll, information, and data into Paycom. We moved from Expensify to Concur. Again, Expensify is a great platform. However, they partner with specific other softwares and third parties and do not have an open API, at least they didn't at the time, forcing us to move to Concur, which had more flexibility, granularity, and the ability to get into the level of detail that would be required at our end product. And we increased the utility of Business Central 365, which is our accounting platform. They had a functionality called Dimensions that we never had turned on because we really didn't have the purpose for it. We didn't have the right data for it. And by the way, speaking about data and data governance, in Paycom, the dimensions we're looking for are called labor allocations. In Expensify, they're called demographics. And in BC365, they're called dimensions. So you do come across this problem that across several systems, you may be talking about the same data point, but they're inherently labeled something different within that application. This is important for you to know and to recognize upfront so you can map them appropriately as you kind of integrate through and start feeding your other sources. So how did we do this? And so just like real life, where I'm the CEO, I talk about the strategy and then I let her do all the hard work. So Lilia, how do we do this?
He called me at 9 p.m. one day asking me for the budget app. So yeah. Okay, so first, as he mentioned, right, we knew we needed an app where we can input three things: headcount needs, expenses, and revenue. Okay, so right now what you are seeing in the slide is the process of creating an app. I wanted to explain in this session how you can do that. And I kind of wanted to put it in non-technical words because I'm not the most technical person, right?
Lies.
But I know, well, kind of, I don't know. But I know that you guys can go back with your team and be like, oh, I have an idea, and I kind of know how to do it, okay? So number one, you need the requirement, the idea. We need a budgets app, right? The next one. Thank you. The next one, the ETL process. You need to clean your data, select your data. You need to understand what data is going to go into your app, right? What Richard mentioned, we have our ERP, our accounting system, maybe payroll, anything that you are going to need in that app to show to your users. The second one, transform. What he said, different columns had different names. So you kind of need to map everything so it makes sense in just one single data source, okay? The third one, loading Domo. If you are making or creating your ETL already in Domo, you guys already know how to do that. So that's the key on how to start. Now, something very important here. When you start creating an app, sometimes you are just thinking from the user experience, right? But at the same time, there are different fields in the back that you are going to need and your team is going to need in order to kind of like join back that data. I know it sounds crazy, but I'll explain a little more, okay? Okay. The next part is the app development. All those cool tables that you can click, drop down, and everything that you guys are seeing in Domopalooza, those are custom apps. And everybody can do it. If you have access to Domo, you can publish a custom app into Domo, and your users can start using it, okay? So first thing, you need to design your wireframe. You can design your wireframe and communicate with your web developer. And I know we hate Excel in theory, right? But you can do it in Excel. You can tell him like, hey, I need a table that all I need to add is how many people I'm gonna need in X department, the salary, right? And when are they going to start? And I'm going to show you how it looks for us in a few moments. The second one is building the app. Okay, how? The apps are built in an external software that, in our case, we use Visual Studio. It's funny because I see, Nick, thank you for explaining me the whole process, by the way. The web developer uses Visual Studio to create the app, to design the app, right? So what they do is they design the structure, the style, and the functionality. That looks like this. And again, I'm not a very technical person, so for me, that kind of actually looks a little crazy, right? But what does that mean? The web developer has knowledge in three different languages, I'll say. HTML, that basically is the structure of your app. It's the bones, okay? The second one is the CSS, that basically, that is the style. How does that app look? If you want to put your colors, if you want to put the, I don't know, like a pop-up at the beginning, that's the CSS. The JavaScript, the brains and the movement, that's the actual functionality. If you want to click in save, and after save, then you need to send that information and join it with another column, that's exactly what they do in JavaScript, okay? Who can do this? A web developer, okay? And maybe in your team you don't have a web developer, but right now there are a lot of platforms like Fiverr that you can get a web developer and they can help you with this. Okay, that's how you go from a wireframe that, if you can see right now in Excel, this is us communicating to the web developer, hey, we need an app, and all I need is this. And I bet that this sounds kind of familiar because this is like one-on-one, like on budgeting process, right? It's just, I want my position, I want the cost going month to month, right? And I want to be able for them to tell me, oh, I want this person to start in July 24. My staff is going to be on staff level 1, and they're going to make 180, right? From there, you can pass to this with a web developer. That right now you're going to see how that looks included in our app, but you see that this has pop-ups. This has a specific forms. Once you save this information, basically it goes into the table. We can select the line, we can modify it, we can save it, we can delete it. That's something that we ask the web developer to do. That's how you can customize something.
And to take a second right there, if you go back to the last slide, from a business functionality perspective, what we're doing here is, this is one component of it. This is the one that has the headcount projections. So essentially, we're asking a department leader to come in and say, maybe you're our tax department leader, and within tax, we do core tax, controversy, if the IRS is coming after you, we're doing incentives and credits, we're doing R&D and so forth, international tax. And so it's important for us to know, hey, what's your headcount going to look like at the end of the year? By what sub-department? Are you going to need a senior manager that we're paying $200,000 to? And if so, when are they going to start? Are they starting in July, which is a month into our fiscal year, or are they starting in January? That's a big impact to our budget. So the ability for us to provide a platform where, and what you don't see here, is right above this table in our custom app, we're actually showing you, here is your current headcount. Right? So here's your current headcount by level, by office, by sub-department. This is what their salary cost is today. This is what their raises look like on average last year, whether they got 5%, 7%, 10% or more. So that way they have the necessary information, the latest information from a headcount perspective and from a salary perspective to help them guide these decisions. When did these people start? What did your revenue look like? And what did those trends look like? So that way we're hiring people at the right time, and that we don't have a lot of idle folks or not utilized professionals in the organization. So the ability to display that information, again, the latest and greatest without any manual efforts. Every time payroll is run, it's just being updated. Here's your headcount by sub-department. And then have them in a very sleek way update it and modify this information by month and do those calculations drives extreme value for our service line leaders and our executive team.
That I didn't mention about that. Right now we are working with our HR team, actually, like this being a trigger for the HR team to actually start looking for the position, right? So they know, HR knows that this person is going to start in October. So they need to start maybe 2 months before to start looking for that position. So it's kind of like the first step to a lot of steps. Okay, the next one, do you remember that I mentioned the first thing we needed to budget headcount, right? The second one, we also needed to budget the expenses, you will see that, but the revenue. How are you going to be doing? We needed to know, we needed to make our service line leaders accountable in terms of like, what are your goals, right? We have a lot of KPIs in our company. As Richard mentioned, our main workflow, like we sell hours, right? People working and actually going and doing consulting. So we needed to know, like, okay, your partners, how utilized are going to be? What's the revenue that they are going to have? On maybe January is not going to be as good, and maybe February is going to be perfect, or maybe in March is when we have like all the IRS returns, and then the utilization is going to go up. So we asked them to create something where they can tell us, okay, my productivity is going to be maybe 50%, and then my billable hours are going to be X, right? So we went from this Excel to this app. Again, everything with the, and you're going to see like a little blank spaces because that's actually our app. So it's
we redacted the information.
Thank you so much, Richard.
We did not have the time to put space
exactly
in here.
Doing fake data, it takes more time. So the revenue app looks like this, right? So you see they can filter by sub-department, they can filter by position, they can filter by month, and every single service line leader has a different view. So they just have access to their own data.
And again, going in from a business perspective, our different service lines, which we have over 17, have different revenue cycles, right? Tax is obviously really busy between January and April, then again in September and October for extensions and business returns. Our cybersecurity team is really all year. Our litigation department is all year. Risk advisory, loan reviews, they're more in the summertime, audit, et cetera. So different levels in different departments have different productivity, which just means how much of your time is chargeable time versus like CPE, learning and development, things like that, at different points of the year. So before this, what we would do is say, hey, tax, what do you think your growth is going to be? $10 million. Awesome. We don't know when that's going to happen from a cash collection perspective. We don't know when we need to hire for that. That's the piece we talked to before. And we don't know per level what our needs are going to be. What is that productivity at our billable rates? So again, above this and kind of hidden here as well, not only are we giving you our FTEs, right, our full-time equivalents, because we do have a lot of flex employees, which is really important because an employee who works 60 hours a week is not equal to an employee who works 15 hours a week. And we need to factor in for that and what that expense looks like and what that projection looks like. But we need to be able to show them, hey, last year in July, by level, by sub-department, this is what you did. What do you think you're going to do? But do it in a way that's not going to take them a week because these guys are $600 an hour plus. I can't afford to have them for 40 hours doing this administrative work. So being able to surface the data to them, the most accurate data in real time, being able to have them really just calculate a handful of things, which how productive do you think your person's going to be? Based on that, we already know our billable rates. We were pulling that in from a different table, and we're able to calculate everything out very quickly and get actually very granular with this detail with very little effort from our professionals who we need out there and billing.
Once we created the app, that's where the other half of the circle comes, right? You need to test the app. Somebody's going to try to break it. We created an app, actually, like, normally it's him. We created an app, maybe we launched it like a month ago, and believe me, we tested a lot. Once it was out, somebody broke it, and we don't even know how, to be very honest with you. So you need to test it. What we normally do is launch it for a small circle or a small team. They test it, we see how the functionality goes, and then we put it live to all the firm. Once you test it, then you need to deploy it to our instance in Domo, right? You can use Domo CLI to launch it, and I'll explain what Domo CLI is. You need to set the permissions. Who is going to be able to see the app? Who is going to be able to see the inputs of other people, right? Or who is going to be, what kind of access of the data they need to have? You can actually use a lot of the, you can use PDP for that too. So it's like a combination between apps and PDP. Then gather feedback, refine the features. Right now, we have like 2 apps that we are also like gathering feedback for the teams because we know it's going to be an app 2.0, right? Okay, so a little technical. Remember that I told you need to publish the app into Domo, right? Once your web developer creates the app, creates those bonds, that structure, and then the way that it's going to work, they need to publish that into Domo. That's how it ends up in our instance. They do it through something that the name is Domo CLI, that is command line interface. That is the only, that helps to deploying the new apps, update it, and managing new versions. So once, if I get feedback and I need to change the app and do something, or maybe a formula is not working, or maybe one button is not working, then they basically go back to their code and then publish the app through Domo CLI. The outcome. So everything that we just told you end up in the app that we are going to show you right now, that is actually live.
Yeah, so this is what the app actually looks like. It's a video since we didn't make a dummy version of it. So this is what our department leaders come into. In that top section, what we mentioned is, there are their current information. You're going to see, and you saw a little bit of this, but we're going to walk through the entire thing. They're going to very quickly put their start date, their position, their department, their sub-department. It's good to note that we did this for the video. For those people, these fields actually already populate. So if it's our tax practice, the system knows, Domo knows through PDP, personalized data permissions, that it's the tax leader, that these are the sub-departments relevant to that leader. We're not making them click all that through. We just did this for demo purposes. You see how quickly this automatically allocates that spend per month based on that start date. This is also how they tell us they plan on downsizing. If they would actually pick a particular person at a level and just say, negative 100,000, then we know they plan on doing a downsize in that department, in that sub-department for that level. Then moving into the expense side, this is actually real-time data from our BC365, our accounting package. You'll see at the top, there's a 2 input budget. Those are controllable expenses from those department leaders, right? How much are we gonna allow for sponsorships? How are we gonna allow for conferences, for travel, for team building? We want them to put in a budget number for that. We're showing them what you spent last year, give us an input, but we also below wanna show them all the informational things. Employee meals, mileage, CPA bonus for someone who passed it, and so forth. On the revenue side, you wanna do that one? Right. So same thing on the revenue side that we talked to a little bit earlier. They pick their department, their sub-department by level, do an allocation of productivity. We already know what their billable rates are. This starts telling us what our gross services and our net services are going to be automatically. We're not making them do any of those calculations. Again, we know all this information. This information is coming from a multitude of different systems, but we're feeding it in. We've done our data cleansing. We validate this information so we know it's accurate when it gets to them. And we have it in a way where they can filter, they can collapse groups. This now funnels into this payroll and headcount summary. So here is all the work that we've done. You'll see what your last year payroll expense was by month, what your forecasted expense is going to be based on the inputs you told us. Again, we do an actual to budget variance as well, because as every payroll runs, all this data is being automatically updated, right? So if we didn't meet those hiring needs, if we overhired compared to budget, we're able to see and then drill into that and say, well, why? Maybe we got more work than we anticipated. We got a large client that we weren't expecting to get in. Right? Same thing on the expense side. We show you what your last year's actuals were. We show you what this year's budget is, and then we show you what this year's actuals are. Now that is awesome because our employees are submitting expenses every day through Concur, right? They're going to, we're at a conference, we have flights, we have hotels. And because of the way we configured Concur, when I submit an expense report and it gets approved, it's going into BC365 with what Concur calls demographics, what BC365 calls dimensions, and it knows that if Richard's submitting it, I'm part of C-Suite, I'm based out of Boca, and so forth. It has all my different dimensions, and it's automatically allocating it to that specific card. And then we move into the summary. The summary is where you have everything put together, your headcount, payroll, your expenses, whether it's controlled or not, informational only. And now on a real-time basis, as we're billing, as we're incurring expenses, as we're hiring or firing, you have a real picture, not just at the firm level, but at a department level, at a sub-department level, at an office level. I can look at this just for our interns. I can look at it just for our partners, for our senior managers, and slice it however we want. And it's taking us 90% less of the amount of time that it did when we were doing it manually and had a tenth of the information available to us.
Hello? Yeah. Now, this app, it's a combination between custom apps and normal apps that you guys already have in Domo, right? Of course, this might not make sense because it doesn't have any numbers, but we have the opportunity to actually drill down. We have the opportunity also to go to another dashboards if they want to see the detail and lot more functionality.
We're also working right now on deploying Domo GPT onto this, so that way the department leaders, instead of having to drill down, can ask specific questions on a GL, on a specific expense, on an employee, on a variance, and leverage that aspect of it.
I just want to be mindful of the time. We have other solutions that right now we are working with custom apps. I guess you want to talk about Elba?
Yeah. So the other apps that we've done, and we've really moved. So we've been on this journey for 4 years. We started with BI, data visualization. Moving to consumption allowed us to get data science, workflows, forms, write-backs, all of those things. So the visualizations are great. The power is through automation and workflow automation. The efficiency is crazy. We do our self-evaluation process now in Domo, feeding in from a variety of sources. We do project trackers. Elba is our engagement letter and billing automation tool. A quick stat on that is we had a very distinct engagement letter and billing problem. We launched the solution 5 weeks ago. For one department, for one type of engagement, which is just 1040s. In those 5 weeks, we've automated over 500 engagement letters. That typically took 35 minutes and now takes less than 3 minutes. The engagement letter is automatically created, pushed to the partners based on 5 attributes, just on 5 fields being picked out. The response rate is we had partners who said it would take them roughly 40 to 50 hours to get all their engagement letters out for tax season. Now it takes them about 4 hours. You're talking about someone at a 500, 600 billable rate. It's massively impactful. But we didn't stop there. Through workflow automation, we actually not only automated the engagement letter, but when the engagement letter is executed, it's coming back into our platform, it's auto-saving with the right file format, and then it's sending about over to our billing system, and it's automatically creating the bill. That takes 45 seconds. In 5 weeks, we have automatically billed a little over $1 million to our clients. Of that million, we've collected 505,000 as of like an hour ago that I checked. That same 505,000 that we collected last year for those exact same clients and the same work, we didn't collect that money until September. So we've escalated $500,000 of collections 6 months in advance just in our pilot program, right? Today, we're sitting at around $45 million of WIP and AR. So the impact of this will do from an interest income perspective in our bank account, well over $150,000 a month in interest income by being able to bring this in all through workflow automation.
So thank you. Just so few key takeaways. Number one, you can build custom apps and you can build custom solutions. You need a web developer and somebody that actually knows the user experience that you are going to need at the end. You can start simple. You can start with Excel, do your wireframe, go with your web developer and be like, this is what I need. Always consider the user. The user at the end is the one that is going to adopt or not adopt this tool.
You can build the best thing that you think that actually works, and if it doesn't work for the user, they will not adopt it.
Test the hell out of your app, please, because again, somebody can break it. And design for scale. Sometimes it happens, and it actually happened to us, that we just create something just to solve that problem in that moment, and we didn't think in the future. So design at the beginning, just so you know you're going to need to scale it.
And even the scariest monsters can be tamed. Right? Spreadsheets replaced by systems, HR information systems with Paycom, expense management move from Expensify to Concur, the BC365 enhancements. You know, BC365 was already a tool we had. We just weren't using that additional functionality. From the legacy gatekeeper, that's almost harder than implementing a new system, right? You need a change management program. You need leadership from the top. You need executive sponsorship. You need to communicate why this is important, why it's necessary for the health of the organization, the growth, the scalability. You need a dedicated pilot, right? You can't boil the ocean. I hate using those terms, but you can't do it all at once, right? You have to prove success, because then the folks who are dying to get it, they're going to be your champions. And then the folks who are kind of interested are going to see the success and they want it. And then those resistors, that last 20%, just don't want to get left behind. And then eventually they have no choice. Build your champions. The proof is in the results. Questions?
Any questions?
Potential answers?
Yeah.
No?
No questions?
Want to go to the LinkedIn? Sure.
Here, I have a mic.
Want to run a mic? Did somebody say they had a question? Sorry.
I do have a question.
Blinding.
So earlier you were saying that it's really important to get good web devs. Could we get your web devs?
No. Emphatically no.
Yeah, no.
Can,
But you can call me and I can help you finding another one.
Again, we have a full team. The power of us in becoming a Domo partner is that, we have the platform, we have the expertise, we have data scientists, we have full stack developers, probably over 15 internally. So, and we live this every day, day in and day out. So when we breathe this and we do it for us and we believe in this, we are true partners. Both of us sit on Domo's customer advisory board. We can come and bring that expertise to you. We have the scale, we have the industry expertise to do that. So if anyone is interested, we do have our LinkedIn on the last slide. Are you able to actually go back to my screen? I just wanted to share one more thing since we do have like 4.5 minutes. Yeah, so this is Elba, right? This is our engagement and letter billing automation. This is the dashboard that shows us what we've done, right? So as you see, 977,000 billed in the last 5 weeks, 508,000, it was 505, like 30 minutes ago. So we collected another 3,000, all done on only 504 engagement letters. We have 985 to go. One service type under one department. That's all this pilot is. And I'm gonna show a little something extra here. And if I go to the actual app, just so you guys can see this, I'm gonna have to go quick because we have true client data here. So all we're asking our people to do, again, we're surfacing information from the previous year. They have like 6 boxes to fill out, click send, and this is gone. Again, this is something that was the bane of the existence for our partners is engagement letter season, right? Making sure they had the right template, the right verbiage, that what did we do last year? Who worked on it? Did we know what states are they in now? Being able to automate this for them, the amount of value we have brought to them in a very quick turnaround time is just instrumental. So I did want to share that just as we have a few more minutes. And if nothing else, we're gonna go ahead and put our QR codes here for our LinkedIns. We're around, feel free to come and chat with us. I don't know, he's not sharing it, but it's there. You guys will get all the PowerPoint presentations. And that's it. Thank you guys for joining us.